And getting into the physical features of the Switch 2, the Switch 2 this time around feels a lot more premium. The plastic used is higher grade, the aesthetic quality is similar to what you would get on a Switch OLED, but even better than that. The quality of the Switch 2 is only comparable to something like an iPhone. It looks like it was made by a billion-dollar company, which also spent millions of dollars just designing the thing. And yes, it is a larger handheld than the Switch 1. Its size can even be comparable to something like the Steam Deck and the ROG Ally, but it's a lot thinner than any PC handheld I've ever used. Because, well, it's made by Nintendo, so they wanted to perfect its dimensions to make it actually portable. And even though it is thinner, it is also taller and wider. So at some points, it actually feels like you're using an iPad opposed to a handheld, because the whole thing is just flat. It's not very ergonomic. I used it for about 2.5 hours straight, and my pinky started to cramp up, but it's extremely light, so my arm didn't really fall asleep or anything like that. It was just a little uncomfortable after holding it for about 2 hours. And that's saying a lot, because while holding something like a Steam Deck, after 30 minutes, my arm starts to fall asleep because that thing is heavy. Even though they made it lighter, it is one of the heaviest PC handhelds out there. But the Nintendo Switch 2's weight is nothing compared to the PC handhelds that I have. So holding it is no problem. The only thing I have a problem with is the ergonomics. The Switch 2 will need grips eventually. Even though it's not very hard to leave fingerprints on the system, the main problem is actually going to be if you have a decent grip on your $450 handheld and enough protection for it. And while the Switch 2 kind of feels like it's naked the first time you use it, it doesn't feel like it's well fortified, and there's absolutely zero grip on it. So when people say that the ergonomics are a lot better than the Switch 1, I guess starting from nothing and going to kind of more is an improvement, but it's still an improvement over nothing. The Switch 1 had no ergonomics at all. So adding a grip to your Switch 2 is going to be essential, and that will add to the weight of it. So be very cautious of what kind of grips you add onto your Switch 2, because that's going to make it even heavier and potentially more uncomfy. And